Have you ever had a dream inside your heart, but fear stopped you from even trying? You think, what if I fail? What if people laugh at me? What if I'm not good enough? If fear of failure has ever kept you from starting something important, then this story is for you. It might change everything. Friends, listen carefully, because today's story will teach us about courage, and we will also learn some powerful English words and how to use them. So stay with us until the end. Once upon a time, in a quiet village by the river, there lived a young man named Arjun. He came from a family of potters. His grandfather was a master potter. His father was a master potter, and everyone expected Arjun to become a master potter too. But there was one problem. Arjun had never made a single pot in his life. Why? Because he was terrified of failure. Every morning, he would sit in the workshop. He would touch the clay. He would watch other potters spin their wheels and shape beautiful pots. But when it was his turn, his hands would shake, his heart would race, and he would say, "Not today, maybe tomorrow." The other potters whispered behind his back. "He will never be like his father," they said. "He is afraid of his own shadow." Arjun heard them, and their words made his fear grow even stronger. One day, his father fell sick. Before closing his eyes to rest, he called Arjun to his side. "My son," he said softly, "I have been a potter for 40 years. I have made thousands of pots. But do you know a secret?" Arjun shook his head. His father smiled weakly. "My first 100 pots were terrible. They cracked. They fell apart. They looked ugly, but I kept trying. That is how I became a master, not by being perfect, but by being brave enough to fail." He held Arjun's hand. "Before I die, I want to see you make just one pot. Not a perfect pot, just one pot. That is my last wish." Arjun's eyes filled with tears. He nodded, but inside, fear whispered, "You will fail. You will embarrass yourself. Everyone will laugh." Days passed. Arjun could not sleep. He could not eat. The clay sat waiting, but he could not touch it. Then one night, an old traveling monk came to the village. He saw Arjun sitting alone, staring at the clay with empty eyes. The monk sat beside him. "Young man, why do you look so sad?" Arjun poured out his heart. "I want to make a pot for my father, but I am afraid. What if it breaks? What if it's ugly? What if I prove that I am not good enough?" The monk listened quietly. Then he picked up a stone from the ground. "Do you see this stone?" he asked. Arjun nodded. "This stone is afraid of nothing," the monk said. "It never tries. It never fails. It never succeeds. It just sits here, year after year, doing nothing. Is that the life you want?" Arjun stared at the stone. The monk continued. "Now look at the river." He pointed to the flowing water. "The river is not afraid to move. Sometimes it crashes against rocks. Sometimes it floods. Sometimes it dries up. But it keeps flowing. That is why it gives life." He placed his hand on Arjun's shoulder. "My son, fear of failure is like that stone. It keeps you frozen. It keeps you safe. But it also keeps you dead inside. Action is like the river. Yes, you may fail. Yes, you may break. But you will also live. You will also grow. You will also become something beautiful." The monk stood up. "Remember this. A pot that breaks taught the potter more than a pot that was never made. Failure is not your enemy. Fear is." And then he walked away, disappearing into the night. Arjun sat there for a long time. The monk's words echoed in his mind. A pot that breaks taught the potter more than a pot that was never made. Suddenly, something inside him shifted. He whispered to himself, "I have spent years being afraid. What if I spend just 1 hour being brave?" That night, Arjun stood up. He walked to the potter's wheel. His hands were shaking, but he touched the clay anyway. He began to spin the wheel. The clay wobbled. It collapsed. His first attempt failed. He tried again. The pot was uneven. It looked strange. His second attempt failed. Tears ran down his face, but he did not stop. He tried a third time, a fourth time, a fifth time. By sunrise, the floor was covered with broken pieces of clay, but in his hands he held one small pot. It was not perfect. It was rough around the edges, but it was real. He had made it. Arjun carried the pot to his father's room. His father opened his eyes. When he saw the pot, tears of joy filled his face. "My son," he whispered, "it is beautiful." "But father," Arjun said, "it is not perfect. I failed so many times." His father smiled. "You did not fail, my son. You learned. Every broken pot was a lesson, and now you are a potter. Not because you made a perfect pot, but because you had the courage to try." From that day on, Arjun became a potter. He made hundreds of pots. Some were beautiful, some broke, but he was never afraid again, because he learned the greatest lesson. The only real failure is never trying at all. Dear listener, Arjun's story is your story. It is my story. It is everyone's story. We all have dreams. We all have clay waiting to be shaped, but fear whispers, "You are not ready. You will fail. Wait for the perfect moment." But here is the truth. The perfect moment never comes. The only moment you have is now. Failure is not falling down. Failure is staying down. Failure is choosing the stone instead of the river. Failure is letting fear decide your life. So if you are afraid to start that business, write that book, learn that skill, or chase that dream, remember Arjun. Remember that broken pots teach more than pots never made. Be brave. Start today. Try, fail, learn, and grow. Because a life lived with courage, even with failures, is 1,000 times better than a life frozen in fear. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Tales by Amon, and share it with someone who needs courage today. Together, let us choose action over fear. Let us choose to live like the river, not the stone.